I got monetized on YouTube in 6 months after starting over at 50 years old. This morning, I woke up more rested than I have felt in months. A full 8 hours of sleep, and I had spinning class on my schedule. So I reached for my phone to check the time. And then, almost as an afterthought, I opened my YouTube Studio app to check on something that I had been told could take up to a whole month. And there it was, one word: congratulations. I am monetized after 164 long form videos, 104 shorts, after 100 days of showing up, and then 100 more. I sat there on the edge of my bed and I let out the single biggest exhale of my entire life. And I was not even expecting it today because they tell you the review can take up to a month. So I had made my peace with waiting through the whole holiday week. And I never imagined that I would wake up on an ordinary Monday with the answer already in my hand. But here's the thing that I need you to understand, because it is the real reason I am making this video. The yes was not the surprise. The surprise came when I looked back and then I realized the ceiling that I had been living under this whole time, it was one that I had built for myself. And it was so much lower than the truth. So this is not really a video about getting monetized. This is a video about the quiet lie that we tell ourselves about what we are actually capable of. So let me tell you the whole story, because if you're starting over at any age, you need to hear this one. For months, I treated a button on the YouTube Studio app like it was going to decide something about me, whether I was good enough, whether any of this was real. And when it finally said yes this morning, I realized that it was never that button that had me stuck. What had me stuck was a number in my own head, a ceiling that I had set years ago without ever knowing that I had done it. And almost every single thing that held me back this year came back to that one invisible ceiling. But first, let me tell you who I am talking to right now. I am talking to the woman who is starting the whole thing over at 50 years old or more, who looks around and feels like everybody else figured this out 20 years ago. I'm talking to the immigrant woman who came here with nothing, built a life with her own two hands, and is now trying to build one more thing, quietly terrified that maybe this is too late. I am her. I came to this country alone. I've been my own only safety net for 30 years. And this year at 50 years old, I was rebuilding everything at once. I was 1 year out from a hysterectomy. I was relearning my own body, watching it change in ways that nobody warns you about. My finances were changing, the economy had changed, the job market had changed. Everything I once thought was solid had moved under my feet. And in the middle of all of that, I made one decision. Two things only. I was going to show up on YouTube, and I was going to show up for myself, to take care of myself, to love on myself. That was the entire plan. And I had no idea that the same week that I truly committed to those two things, my whole life was about to pivot. Because this is the truth about starting over at 50 years old. It is not too late. You are not behind. The only thing standing between you and the next version of your life is usually a ceiling that you do not even know that you are carrying. So let me show you mine. I did not start this channel this year. I started it all the way back in 2015, and then I abandoned it because the honest truth is I did not know what I wanted to say. I would post something, then disappear for months. I was throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping that something, anything would stick, but nothing did. So I walked away from it for years. And this year, on January 1st, I came back to it. And I made myself a promise that sounded almost foolish when I said it out loud. 365 days. I was going to show up every single day for the entire year, no matter what happened. And I made myself a second promise, and this is the one that actually saved me. I said, I do not need to reach everyone. I just need to impact one person, one. If one woman watches this and feels a little less alone, then it was worth it. And in those early days, it was not even one person, it was 19 subscribers. That was the entire room I was showing up for. 19. Let me tell you about March, April, and May 2026 because those 3 months were brutal. And I'm not going to dress it up to make myself look strong. My views would not move on my videos. I'm talking double digits, 10 views, 20. A whole video, a whole week of my life poured into it, and 20 people would watch. And the story that I told myself was the obvious cruel one. The algorithm hates me. I'm doing something wrong. Maybe this is just not meant for me. There were so many days that I wanted to quit. I want to say that plainly because the people who make this look easy are lying to you. I wanted to quit constantly. And it was not a passing thought. It was a daily one. And do you know the only reason that I kept going? It was those tiny little views because I had made two promises to myself: 365 days and impact one person. And I could not break a promise to myself again. I had already done that once with this very channel back in 2015. So I was not going to be that woman twice. And underneath the views, there was a deeper fear because I kept thinking, I am the woman who abandoned this account once already back in 2015. I quit because I did not even know what I wanted to say. And here I was again posting into what felt like complete silence. So a part of me was quietly terrified that I was watching myself become that same quitter all over again, just slower this time. Now, here's the part that actually changed my mind about showing up. And I will be honest with you. I borrowed this idea. I saw someone else do something like it on Instagram and I stole it shamelessly because it was that good. The problem with small numbers is that you cannot feel them. So you would not even notice 19 people. So the number stays abstract, and abstract numbers are very, very easy to quit on. So I did an exercise. I went to Gemini, the AI, and I asked it to show me something. I said, show me what a room full of brilliant, creative, immigrant, and Black women would look like. A whole room of the kind of people I was making this channel for. And it looked like a real conference. It even gave the conference a name. And then I checked my email list and I had 172 people on it that I had let go cold. I ignored. And I asked to see what 172 people standing in a room actually looks like. And something shifted in me when I saw the picture that Gemini generated. Because 19 people is not a stadium. But you know what 19 people is? 19 people is a mastermind. 19 people is a small group that you could coach in a single room. 172 is a packed house. So I had been calling these numbers small, and they were never small. I just could not see the faces behind them. And that flipped a switch in me, definitely. And I stopped mourning the big numbers that I did not have. And I started appreciating the small wins that I did. The comments were rare. I used to get maybe one every now and then. And I used to feel defeated by that. But now I started being genuinely grateful for that one comment. I changed my entire perspective about it. And I will tell you something that I know for sure now. The shift in perspective, it came before the shift in the numbers. It always does. It has to. And there was one more thing that image did to me. And this is where it gets so much bigger than 19 subscribers. When I had Gemini show me that room of over 1,000 brilliant women, I stood there in my own kitchen and I look at it. And a question was up in me. How many women in a room like that have made themselves millionaire simply by bringing their craft online? And I remember saying out loud to myself, one of these days, I'm going to be standing in a room full of self-made women who did this their own way. And I am going to be one of them. That picture did not just keep me posting. It handed me a vision. So in May, I made another decision. And looking back now, this might be the single most important one of the entire year. So, what I did, I turned down the noise. And let me tell you exactly what I mean by that. I was in all these paid groups. I was drowning in advice, in information. I was trying to be on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook all at the same time, posting here, repurposing there, exhausted. So I was spread thin across 4 platforms and doing none of them well. And it is just me doing it, one woman doing every single piece of it alone. And I had heard the advice from mentors 100 times. Focus on one, succeed at one thing first, then go and duplicate that success somewhere else. So I had heard it over and over. I just was not doing it because I was scared. And my fear was the egg in one basket fear. If I only do YouTube and YouTube does not work, then I have nothing to fall back on. And that fear felt responsible. But here is what I finally understood. When the economy has already changed under you, when it is just you with no extra hands and no extra hours, spreading yourself thin across everything is not safety. It is just a slower, more exhausting way to fail at all at once. So I made the call 100% YouTube. I canceled a paid coaching subscription that I was carrying. I unplugged from communities, and not because they were bad, but because they had become noise, a distraction, and I could no longer afford that. And any spare time that I had, I poured into one single thing, getting better at this one platform, learning SEO, going back and optimizing the old videos I had already made. And let me tell you, the moment that I made that decision to go all in on one thing, that is the moment that everything started to move. And I want to be honest about why that was so hard. Because if you are spread thin right now, you already know. So it was not that any of those groups or any of those platforms were bad. They were good. The advice was good. But a good thing that you cannot fully commit to slowly becomes noise. And noise, when you are doing all of it alone, is just a quiet way of guaranteeing that you'll never go deep enough on any one thing to actually win at it. So the day I unplugged, I could suddenly breathe. And almost immediately, the work itself got better. And that is when I learned something that honestly embarrassed me a little because of how long it took me to see it. Thumbnails matter. They matter enormously. So I went back to one old video and I changed nothing about it but the thumbnail. Nothing else. Same video, same words, same everything. And that video jumped by over 5,000 views for one single image. So that was the moment I decided, if I'm going to bet everything that I have on this one platform, then I'm going to actually understand it. Where are my mistakes? How do I get 1% better every single day? Not overnight. And I stopped chasing overnight. I just needed 1%. So I started studying my own channel like it was a craft, because it is a craft and nobody is born knowing it. And then came the week that everything else in my life was pivoting to. It was the end of May and I was at the gym. I was a year out from my surgery, relearning my body and finally loving on myself in a way that I had never done before. And on the drive home, it hit me all at once. This is what starting over at 50 actually feels like. Not just rediscovering myself, reinventing myself, especially around money. Because I had been quietly making all of these financial changes. And when I talked about it with friends my own age, I realized something. This is not just me. There are so many women my age who are sitting in this exact place. The money fear, the starting over, the economy that moved on them. And then I thought, let me talk about that. Let me just be honest about that out loud. And I need you to hear how layered that one moment was for me, because it was never just a content idea. My body had changed, my hormones had changed. After the hysterectomy, I was getting to know myself all over again. My finances were different, the economy was different, the job market was different. Everything that I once stood on had shifted under me. And right there in the middle of all of that change, I was discovering that I actually love this, the technology, the building, because here's the truth that nobody likes to say out loud. At my age, finding a job is not easy, but this, what YouTube was quietly becoming in my life, this felt like a door that was finally open to me. So on June 1st, I posted a video. I called it Starting Over at 50, the budget that doesn't feel like poverty. And it blew up. It just took off in a way that I had never experienced. And as of today, that one video has 38,051 views. From a channel that only 2 months earlier was getting 20 views on a good day. Now, here is where I have to tell you the real lesson, the one that I promised you at the very beginning of this video. When I first came back to this abandoned YouTube channel, I noticed that I had one old video that had somehow collected 11,000 views over the years, 11,061 to be exact. And I remember staring at that number and thinking, wow, that probably took years to add up. How on earth am I ever going to do something like that again? That number quietly became my ceiling. In my head, 11,000 views was the absolute most that I could ever hope for. That was the top of the mountain. That was my limit. I was agonizing over how to duplicate the one good thing I had ever accidentally done on my YouTube channel. And then in the month of June alone, this month, I made videos that blew straight past it. Not by a little. The budget video by itself is at 38,000. My frugal habits video is over 10,000. In one single month, I did several times over what I had convinced myself took me years. Now, do you understand what that actually means? It means that the ceiling was never real. I made it up. I took the one number I happened to have and I decided that was my limit. And then I went and lived underneath it. And the moment that I stopped, the moment I just kept showing up and getting 1% better, that ceiling turned out to be nothing but a story that I had been telling myself the whole time. And I am still pinching myself. If I am being honest with you, here I was agonizing over a video with 11,000 views, completely certain that that was my ceiling, certain that that was the most that I would ever do. And I never imagined, not for one single second, that I would have a video with tens of thousands of views on it. But this is what we do to ourselves. We take the highest place that we have ever reached, and then we quietly decide that that is the wall. And then we spend years bumping our heads against a wall that was never even there. So if you are out there living under a ceiling that you set for yourself, some number that you decided long ago was the most that you could ever do, I need you to subscribe and stay close to me, because I am going to keep proving in real time, in public, that the ceiling is not real. You are not too old, you are not too late, and you are capable of so much more than the small stories in your head. You belong here with me. We set our own ceilings, and then they are almost always far too low. So let me show you where I actually am today, because I believe in showing the real numbers, not just the shiny highlight reel. As of today, I have 1,989 subscribers. And let me tell you something honest about seeing these numbers on the screen. There is a real difference between wanting something and watching it actually happen in front of you. I wanted my consistency to pay off. Absolutely. I believed that it would. But I did not imagine it would ever look like this. So when the numbers finally show up, you surprise yourself. You realize that you were capable of more than even your own hope had room for. My channel has crossed now over 135,204 total views. And I just got a notification that I am in the top 25% of all creators because I crossed 23,434 weekly views. A year ago, that single sentence would have sounded like pure fantasy to me. I kid you not. I crossed the line YouTube draws, the watch hours, the subscribers. And the very first thing I did this morning before I even left the house for my spinning class, it was turning the ads on. Every single video, every shorts. I have been wanting for that exact moment since January 1st, 2026. And I was not about to waste 1 second of it. But let me be honest with you about the money the way that I always am with you. The first checks are small. This is not get rich overnight. Anybody telling you YouTube made them rich in 6 months is selling you a course and you should hold on to your money. What this actually is, it's the beginning. It is a door opening. It is a proof that the thing works. And in a month like June, where I also started seeing a little money coming in from affiliate marketing, proof is everything. June has felt like a month full of blessings. And I do not say that lightly because I remember exactly how hopeless it felt just a few months ago. So if you are starting over and you want the real lessons underneath all of this, here's what actually carried me fast. 1, I made a promise that I refused to break. 365 days. The commitment carried me every single day. The results did not. Number 2, I stopped chasing everyone and I showed up for the one, the 19 people, the 19 views. I learned to see the real faces behind the small numbers. Number 3, I turned down the noise. I canceled the groups. I left all the other platforms and I went all in the single thing until it finally worked. Number 4, I treated this platform like a craft. Thumbnails, SEO, 1% better every single day. Number 5, I appreciated the small wins instead of mourning the big ones that I did not have yet. And number 6, the big one, the one that changed my life, I stopped living underneath a ceiling that I had built for myself, which was a story that I was telling myself. And it turns out it was a lie. So this month, when I sat there on the edge of my bed and let out an enormous exhale, I was not just relieved, I was changed because I thought about every single time this year that I wanted to quit. Every brutal month, every 20 view videos, every day I showed up for 19 people and quietly wondered if any of it mattered. And I want to say this to you as clearly as I possibly can. The long game works. It is not a slogan that I am selling you. I lived it. I have 164 videos and 104 shorts that prove it. Consistency when nobody is watching, when nobody is clapping for you yet, is the most underrated power there is in this world. And here is what this actually unlocks for me. The thing that I have been quietly dreaming about for a long time. I want to do this full time. I want to launch my podcast. And the real movement that I want to build is this. I want to help immigrant women like me build something real online on their own terms and become millionaires doing it. One day, I am going to be standing in a room full of self-made women who did it their own way. And I am going to be one of them. And so are some of you watching me right now. This is why I stay. This is the movement that I am building. I want patient women, immigrant women, women who are starting the whole thing over at 50 years old to make real money online and to own their own lives while they do it. I want to do this full time. I want to launch my podcast. I want to build a channel that is a real soundtrack for women who decided they were not finished. That is the whole vision. And it started with 19 people and a room that I could only see in my imagination. And now I'm watching it slowly become real. That is what a button at YouTube really unlocked this morning. Not the money, the permission to finally believe that the ceiling was never real. And very soon, I'm going to tell you the 5 things that I wish I had known before I ever started. The lessons that would have raised that ceiling a full year sooner. That is the next video that I am working on, so make sure you are here for it. So for those of you just meeting me, I'm Webley. I make videos for women who are starting the whole thing over on their own terms at an age that the world told them was too late. So now I want you to tell me in the comments, what is the ceiling that you set for yourself? The number, the limit, the quiet story that you've been living underneath. I want you to name it out loud right here. And then let us go prove together that it was never real. I read every single comment, and I will see you tomorrow because I am not missing a day